Asian
Yes,
boy band,
ABB.
Asian bad boys, right? Not boy band. Okay.
Yes. Sorry, it's Asian. Welcome to Inchworm.
The podcast in which we are inching through worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted. And it's a new arc.
Insinuation!
Arc 2 of Worm.
Yes. Insinuation 2.1 today.
I believe it is my turn to summarize. It is your turn.
Take it away.
So we are back, as we expected, in Taylor's perspective, waking up after her first night of superheroics, getting 3 hours of sleep.
If that.
And, she decides she's just got to stick to her routine and go out for a run before school because that's what she always does. And it would be weird if she didn't do that. And she gets downstairs and her dad comes in and he wants to make her breakfast. And she has some of the breakfast and he kind of fishes a little bit in trying to strike up a conversation with her. And finally acknowledges that he heard her come in late last night. And Taylor's heart sinks, and she very quickly comes up with a plausible lie that she couldn't sleep because she was worried about school and she wanted to go out running. And, he's upset about that, but takes it pretty well, doesn't overreact or freak out at her or anything. And he fishes a little bit more to try and see, hey, maybe are the bullies involved? And finally, Taylor's sort of okay, we're moving on from this. But Danny says, look, you can't go out again at night or I'm going to put a bell on the door. He kind of makes it a joke, but he's like, you can't do this anymore. And Taylor says, okay. And, not for the first time in the conversation, she feels guilty because she's lying to her dad and she knows that she's not going to stop doing the stuff that he doesn't want her to do. And the chapter ends with Danny noticing the tips of her hair are a little bit burnt. And isn't that weird? And
has she been smoking?
She decides to go on her run and we leave her sprinting away from the house following her normal routine. So very quiet.
Pretty low-key chapter.
Low-key chapter. Is this the having a secret identity content that you were craving?
So it's interesting because Taylor hasn't told her dad about this power, and she does feel guilty about lying. She says, my apology was sincere in feeling, but I was making it with the knowledge that I would probably do the same thing again. It felt wrong. So I read this and I was thinking, in a lot of the works, or the media that I've consumed where there are superpowers involved, there's also a really extreme danger involved and some reason not to tell your parents. So, Animorphs, parents could be evil aliens, have to save the world. Mm-hmm. Buffy, there's sort of a Slayer tradition of not telling people, and she could put her mom in danger, which is a weaker reason, but, there's a clear, she is the one called to protect the world against vampires and demons.
Yeah. And
in this, I don't know that there's a really strong reason not to tell her dad. I can see why she wants to hide this, mostly because she's a teenager and because her dad would worry and she doesn't want his interference. There's also not a really strong call to action.
Yeah.
There are supervillains out there. She did sort of stop one last night, but she's kind of stopped a villain-on-villain battle, so it's not like she saved a bunch of quote-unquote innocents. There's not a pressing danger that her powers are needed to address. Yeah. I imagine something will emerge, but it's really interesting that there seems to almost be something inherent to the idea of having superpowers that, you can't tell people. And it feels like a very strong parallel to just, being a teenager and developing a life independent from your family of origin. Right. And just not feeling like you could share that for psychological reasons of just wanting to be independent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It just feels like having superpowers is a normal teenage thing that you would lie about.
Right. And so
way.
Just because teenagers lie to their parents so that their parents aren't too involved in their lives.
Yeah, it's I was out smoking weed with my friends, like a thing, as probably Danny would have done.
It's like, I'll probably do that again, but I'm not going to tell my dad that.
But of course, you don't want to, if you have a good relationship with your parents, you don't want to lie, like, that feels like a very relatable thing.
Right, so it was weird to encounter this, like, oh, I wish I didn't have to lie. And I'm like, you don't have to lie, and you don't have to be doing this in the first place.
Well, yeah, no, that's
but is there,
really
like, a
point.
power equals responsibility thing? Do we have, like, the Spider-Man ethos here, where,
yeah.
like... Oh, and it's also not, like, her dad wouldn't believe her, because superpowers are known. Like, that's... there's good context for this.
Yeah. And a couple of things based on what you said. I mean, one is he does bring up superpowers in this chapter. And I didn't read that as him fishing because he seemed to not even consider...
No, yeah.
But I think she at one point thinks sort of like, I wonder if he'd be more or less worried if he knew about the superpowers, which...
Yeah, would it make things better or worse? Yeah.
Right. So she's considering it. It's not like she knows that her dad would have a strong negative reaction to finding out, which is kind of the point you were making. And one thing that I really like about this narrative and the way that it centers Taylor and what she wants, even though maybe it's a little unclear what that is at this point in the story, is she does not appear to have this person initiating her into the cape world at the beginning of the story. And the two examples you cited, right? Like Buffy, of course, has her... She has
a watcher.
A watcher, that's like a whole thing.
Animorphs have the alien who died and gave them their powers.
Right. And so the Animorphs do end up being like super independent after that point, but they at least have the person who explains everything to them.
Right, there are no rules presented to Taylor by a specific person.
Yeah. And as far as we know, what happened to her is she got her powers. She was immediately hospitalized and... has been on her own, keeping a notebook, a private, secret writing notebook. There's no evidence that she's been, like, talking to other people or having anyone tell her kind of what to do. And so if there is some kind of... Like, it could be the case that maybe, for most people, it is more like the situation in Buffy, where people notice you have powers, and the difference here is just nobody's noticed Taylor has powers yet, but we don't know.
I did just say, there's no good reason for her not to tell him. Thinking about myself as a teenager, if I developed superpowers, I would absolutely not tell my parents. I wouldn't tell anyone. It would have been... I mean, I feel like especially at that age, was just very secretive about anything that felt really important or really... defining of myself.
Yeah.
Like, I would have been horrified to have them know. Like, that would have felt so exposed and wrong.
Yeah. And maybe...
I feel like it took like a decade for me to feel comfortable. Like I feel like I was in my late 20s before I started to feel comfortable sharing important pieces of myself with my friends. Like,
yeah. No, totally. I guess maybe it would be a little easier if you were like Superman, but if your power is like, I control bugs, again, it probably is like not as easy to just be like, hey, this is who I am, presumably forever now.
I mean, being Superman would be such a huge thing. That would also be really hard to share.
No, of course. Yeah. Like, people aren't going to expect Taylor to do great things with her power. I also just noticed along this kind of same topic, Taylor is not at all like a reluctant hero. She doesn't regret going out. She doesn't regret...
Oh, yeah, because she doesn't have to go out. It's all at her own instigation.
Yeah, and she
regrets... Like, she's going to do it again.
...having to lie, but in a way of like, oh, man, I wasn't thinking about the door. Yeah. Right? Like, it's just like a very relatable, like, I don't regret being deceptive. I don't like having to lie directly. And I liked the progression. He checks in with her about the pepper spray, and this is a very normal teenage, like, oh, well, I have it in my pocket, Dad. And then she realizes, oh, I don't. It's in my costume. So I just lied. And then she feels a little bad. And then she has the sort of lie of omission where he says, like, I'm going to put a bell on the door if you go out again. And she's like, okay. Like she says, like, I'm sorry.
Okay, so do you think that if enough insects got inside of a bell, they could keep it from ringing? I guess I'm assuming like an old-fashioned, like, actual bell that
Right.
Goes back and forth. Yeah. Probably he would get like an electronic thing.
I mean, it's so funny that like 2011, you didn't have omnipresent home surveillance stuff.
Like the Ring doorbell or
exactly.
whatever. Oh my gosh.
Right, like 5 years later, it would have been so much more plausible for like them to have kind of cameras set up to monitor. Like, Danny seems like the kind of guy who'd be like, I don't want people stealing my packages. Like, then how's Taylor going to get out? She's going to have to, sneak down the the vines climbing up the side of the house or whatever.
I mean, this is a question, like, how is she going to get out going forward? Like, it sounds like he's not going to bell the door immediately, but she's going to have to be at least much more quiet. Like, I assume this is going to be an obstacle / a developing plot thread going forward of, like, how is she going to do this without her dad noticing? He already noticed the first time.
Yeah, right, exactly, exactly. And it was just sort of like a little bit of bad luck, right? There was sort of no reason. You know, he wasn't quite asleep yet, and he heard her go out. I
will say, you asked about, is this the secret identity stuff that I wanted? The part that felt the most like that to me was, she does admit that she went for a walk. She couldn't sleep. She went for a walk around the neighborhood. She's like, it's not totally a lie. And he's like, that's super dangerous. Like, what if you get caught off guard? What if the guy has a knife or a gun? And she's thinking, or pyrokinesis and the ability to grow armor plating and claws. And, like, that's just, I love that stuff where, like, the things you're supposed to be concerned about in your real life, like the juxtaposition of that and, like, the things you're actually concerned about, which are so much more extreme and so much more outside the norm.
Yeah. It reminds
Very
me
satisfying.
When Taylor sees Long's gang and it's like, and they have guns? It's like, wait, he's a guy who turns into a dragon very slowly. I gotta, recalibrate a little. One other thing on her lying, a bit of writing that I loved. He does check in about the bullies. He's kind of like, it's not better. And she characterizes it as like he's kind of stepping around the elephant in the room. And she is like, I just gave him a one-shoulder shrug and forced myself to take another bite of French toast. My shoulder twinged a little as it made the bruises from last night felt. It's like literally hurting her to lie to her dad in this moment.
That
it's
is
a really
good.
a really nice detail.
Okay, speaking of that paragraph, I have to say, it's super weird that she has French toast before she goes running. Like, has Wildbow never been a runner? Like, I would never go running. Maybe for some people it doesn't bother them. I would never go running right after, especially a breakfast like that. Like, that's really heavy.
Point. I'm not a morning person or a runner, so...
Well... there's also at the end, she goes out the side door and then she breaks into an all-out run. And I was like, is she a sprinter? Like, I assumed she was a jogger. Is she running?
I think that's another little nice writing detail of like she just got out of this awkward situation and she really wants to move
right.
On
Maybe
to the
she
next
normally
thing.
runs at a reasonable pace and she just needed to get out of there.
In defense of Taylor, I think that Danny does not usually cooking her French toast for breakfast. He's making
this
something
isn't
special.
The routine.
This isn't this. So even though she does say this is their routine in the chapter, or like she does kind of say this is a chapter about their routine or whatever. But I do think that Danny made a point to like be up and like make her a nice meal. And Taylor she's been doing this for a couple of months. She might not she might regret having gone out, but I suspect she is not having French toast before her run every single time. I think she would have figured it out by now.
It does say a lot, like, she got so little sleep, she could have slept in, but she's like, no, it would be harder to run tomorrow if I don't run today. Mm-hmm. Which, first of all, have some rest days, Taylor. It's important. But also, the discipline, the sort of fear of letting her, like, need to be in control of herself, maybe, need to be in control of her routine.
Yeah.
Is just, like, seems to be a very strong character trait in her.
And it's also a little bit of that family trait of like, if I don't do it the right way, things could get much worse. That Danny was like, I need to keep my temper, I need to be perfect all the time. And Taylor's like, I need to stick to my running schedule because if I don't, I'll stop. And that would be
I like that. Just like
bad.
very different applications of the same kind of self-control.
Yeah. They both have that needing to control themselves thing.
Yeah. I will say, points to Danny, he did a really good job doing that in this chapter. Like, all of his questions were relatively subtle. He was fishing, but he was letting her choose what to say. He didn't get mad at all. Yeah. She came away feeling guilty for lying, but not feeling like she needed to put up more walls or like she was being attacked by him or anything.
Right. I was really impressed rereading it. And it's like
if we hadn't had the interlude, I would not have known I would not have known most of the thoughts he had last night.
Absolutely. Yeah. It feels like this is very good parenting. He is subtle. He does set a boundary, but he doesn't do it in a way where he's not... He doesn't get upset with Taylor, right? But he's like, you can't do that again, right? In a sort of a definitive way later on. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if we get a Danny loses his temper scene later on, because we got kind of set up for that to happen.
Chekhov's temper.
Yeah.
So you said in the interlude that we don't get to see Taylor through Danny's eyes. We do get to see Danny through Taylor's eyes in this chapter. Can I read the description?
Yes, please.
My dad is not what you'd call an attractive man. Love that opening. Beanpole thin, weak chin, thinning dark hair that was on the cusp of baldness, big eyes and glasses that magnified those eyes further. He's bug-eyed.
Yeah, is Danny the worm?
That would be so weird if Taylor's story were titled after her dad for some reason. She also says, as he entered the kitchen, he looked surprised to see me there. That's just the way my dad always looked, constantly bewildered, that and a little defeated. So sad. I'm glad that we got his interlude, especially because I feel like I would just not have any respect for him as a character from that description if I hadn't been in his head a little bit.
Well, and it's so interesting. It's like he's described as this like wimpy guy, like wimpy physically.
Which he did say. He's like, my dad had this imposing physique and I didn't inherit it, but I did get the temper. Yeah.
No, right. But it is really interesting that he had like. You don't write him off as that stereotype because you got his other point of view, but It really does emphasize the like, this is a guy who can get very angry, but he's not somebody who people are likely to be scared of by his physical presence or like average demeanor. Right. Yeah, he seems like sort of like almost professorial, right? You know, he also doesn't give sort of like stevedore, dock worker vibes.
I do wonder, and this is more of a predictions thing, he found out the first time she snuck out. I suspect that means this is not going to be a really long game, like, he doesn't find out for years. Like, I think he's probably going to find out relatively early in the story, in the 1.6 million words, so, that's still a lot of ground to play with. But I think it's going to be a relatively early development.
Yeah.
So we also learned there's, like, some world building in the middle of this. So we knew he worked on the docks. Turns out he's the union spokesperson for the Dock Workers Association. He's the head of hiring. And also turns out there is no hiring. There are no jobs. One of the people he works with, Jerry, we find out, he tells Taylor, found a job working as a henchman for Uber and Leet.
Dun, dun, dun.
He's gone to work for Uber. Which Uber is spelled with an umlaut. I was entertained to see. I wasn't picturing it like that when you asked me about it. But these are the two people that you asked me about last time.
And what are they?
They're local villains with a video game theme.
Yes.
We don't know their powers at all, but they were pretty much as incompetent as villains could be while staying out of jail. That's Taylor's description. They barely even rated as B-list. So, petty criminals. Yeah,
to me, this just conjures up, especially comics, superhero, like, type of character. Just sort of like the, like, really, really stupid, silly villain. Who, like, I feel like they're going to make a lot of, like, puns. Like, they're non-threatening.
Like a Batman villain type of thing.
Yeah. So I'm curious. I'll be curious to see sort of, like, what they're like if they actually show up. Yeah. And sort of like why would you have a video game theme if you're getting into villainy?
Games.
No, right. But like, what is the deal there? Is there any way that makes sense? Are they actually like 12 years old?
Well, it does reinforce what we learned about the world. Like, the reason there are so many villains here is because there are a lot of people to hire, like people out of work that they can hire as hench folk.
Right.
What if Taylor's dad doesn't find out, but gets hired or at least recruited, like courted, as a henchman for someone?
Ooh.
That would be, he could end up on the opposite side from Taylor. We don't know. We had his interlude. I think he would have mentioned if he had powers. Possibly he is just, unreliable narrator. We didn't get to hear that from him.
Right. That would be a big twist.
I'm going to say he probably doesn't already have powers, though that would be fascinating. I would love to see it. But he is head of hiring and there are no jobs. He's going to need a new job soon. This isn't a long-term plan for him, clearly.
He's been doing it for a while, though.
Yeah. It's not imminent, but this isn't a great long-term job.
Yeah. Certainly, unless like the city has an economic revival. It does seem kind of like a dead end. Yeah, so he might have to start working for a supervillain, and he might not know yet that Taylor is on a different side of whatever conflict he jumps into. Yeah.
That's what I want for them. That's my prediction.
That's a fun, also they're both lying to each other kind of
Yes,
dynamic.
exactly. It's a very
fun
Mr. and
exciting.
Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, obviously a very different plot. I was very entertained when Taylor's dad tells her this, like, this guy's going to be one of their henchmen. Taylor, like, I guess to sort of cover for it, she's like, they going to make him wear a uniform, bright primary colors, Tron style? Like, I feel like she's sort of making fun of superheroes or, like, capes. She's sort of being like, haha, being a henchman, that would be so weird. They'd wear stupid uniforms. Maybe she's just making fun of those villains. I don't know.
Yeah,
but...
well, right. I mean, Taylor takes a lot of pride in her costume. Though maybe if she'd worn some primary colors, people wouldn't have thought that she was evil.
Though I don't know, it sounds like these video game villains have primary colors.
That's a great point.
But she says, she's so coy. She's like, we're supposed to talk about how the powers thing has influenced our lives in class today. Maybe I'll mention that. That's the biggest influence. My dad's coworker, who I met a couple times, has become a henchman.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's... I like this chapter. It's very short and efficient. It's nice to kind of get this perspective on Danny after his interlude. But yeah, I feel like I don't have a more sort of to say about it.
I have something to say. So he notices the burnt ends of her hair.
Right.
She plays it off. She's like, maybe they got caught in the stove, as if you wouldn't notice your hair catching on fire. I don't know. And it seems like he buys it enough anyway.
This is just, he's never had long hair. It's like,
that's
this
fair.
is a...
That's fair.
Right. He's like thinking
he's
about...
not a skinny guy with also long hair.
Right. He's thinking about his ex being like, you know, like, I don't, long hair is like, it's like these women with their long hair. I don't know. Sure, maybe it gets burned all the time and I never noticed. And maybe that's not fair.
So she's going to school today with this burnt hair, presumably. We know that the Asian Bad Boys, is that what they're called? The Asian boy band? ABB. Asian Bad Boys, right? Not boy band? Okay.
Yes. Sorry, it's Asian.
Asian Bad Boys. We know that they recruit from schools. There probably are members at her school of this gang. It is possible, and would be a very interesting narrative direction, you know, instigating a lot of intriguing action and stuff, if one of them notices her burned hair and is like, hey, I know that there was someone fighting my fire-breathing gang leader last night. This girl's coming in with her hair burned. Like,
yeah.
This is maybe a thing we need to look into. Could get her on some radars. I know.
If worm like Danny is noticing, surely...
Okay, worms don't have bug eyes, though. He's more like a fly.
Okay, that's fair.
But I'm wondering, can she employ some insects to nibble off the ends of her hair? That's my question.
Okay.
Can she get like a bug-based haircut? Okay, so I feel like I've predicted a lot of things already in the course of doing this. Yeah. So I'm not sure I have any other predictions.
That's great.
Do you have any?
I've got a cape name for you.
Oh, excellent.
Pestilence.
Wow. So, I mean, I guess pestilence is not pests, so it's not redundant with Taylor's power. That was my first thought. Pestilence presumably has something to do with infection.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real dark name. It doesn't sound like someone who cures infection.
Sure.
It's one of, the horsemen of the apocalypse, I think.
Yes. What would you call someone who cures infection?
I don't know, healing hands or something. Is that just a D&D spell? What would I call them? Like purify or something?
Yeah.
Wellness. Cure-all.
Oh, cure-all's good.
Yeah. Panacea.
Yeah.
Panacea would be good.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Love these.
Okay, they're improving. Pestilence, I have to assume causes infection, is a villain who causes infection, or a villain who causes symptoms that seem like they're of infection, or possibly there's something more abstract going on, and they can sort of seed ideas, like infect populations with ideas.
Whoa.
I'm betting it's more literal than that. They're probably just a plague-causing villain.
Right. Who's not original. And it's like, oh, I guess that's me. I'm one of the Four Horsemen. Done.
Maybe they're just really annoying. Like, they can just... Anyone who hangs out with them is like, oh, I will do anything to make them go away. And then they do
Biblically
anything. Yeah. And they're like, I'll go away for $10,000. And the person's like, oh, yes, here, take all my money.
That is a great superpower.
It would be really
to be
useful.
so annoying that people will do whatever you say.
It would be both useful and completely debilitating to your humanity. Like, you would be miserable.
That's what would
make
you into a supervillain. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're like, I didn't want to be a villain, but no one could be around me.
Yeah, it's like you would have friends, and then you'd realize that you're like they're finally getting tired of you, and you're like, okay, fine, just like give me your credit card. I'll never talk to you again. And the other person breathes a huge sigh of relief, and you can see the weight lifted from them, and your soul gets a little smaller.
Oh gosh, and like, you know, it would probably take the longest, like the people who take the longest to give in are like your family, but like eventually.
Exactly.
It's like a much more extreme version of Elle in Scalawance, with her sort of like dark aura that people can't stand.
Right. Oh,
Which it seems like people can get over that. This would be the opposite.
Right.
All right. Any other cape names, or are we...
Pestilence is it.
Pestilence is the only one. I feel like so many of these are coming up and then we don't find out their power, which is really disappointing.
I know. And some of them will definitely come up again, and we'll get a lot more detail.
Yeah.
Some of them may just be those one and done
just
little
background
bits of
detail.
flavor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or, I have not read the sequel, so for all I know, some of the... I don't have full Parahumans world knowledge. I'm just a worm reader.
So I think that's all I have to say about this one.
Great.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, we kept it. We can do short episodes.
If the chapter's only 10 pages long.
Yeah.
On my phone.
Which is great. All right, so see you next time for Arc 2, Chapter 2. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildbow. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.